Welcome to my favorite customer experience. I'm your host, Chris Holt from Holt CX Consultancy here in the UK. And I'm joined today by David Wachs, the founder and CEO of Handwrytten. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me on, Chris. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. And David, you're a serial entrepreneur and you set up Handwrytten over 10 years ago with the aim of bringing back the lost art of letter writing through scalable solutions that write notes in pen. You can write these from CRM solutions, and you're used by a range of companies and non-profits to better engage with customers and deliver the personal touch. Now, um, I, I've got a sales trainer's voice in my head that I used to work with, and he was always talking about send something handwritten, send
Yeah,
something that means something. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do and where the inspiration came from?
absolutely. And that actually kind of brings me back to about 10 years prior to that. I had a text messaging company that I started in 2004 and kind of grew that business. By the end, we were sending 1 million texts a day just for individual brands like Abercrombie and Fitch and Toys R Us, that type of thing. I sold that company in 2012 and had to work for the new owners until 2014. And during that time, I realized that people were kind of overwhelmed with the 1 million texts a day they were receiving and the 135 emails. And uh, I don't know if you heard my thing go off, but my Teams notifications and Slack and Twitter and all the rest, all this electronic communication is just overwhelming. And so I thought, gee, there has to be a better way. And when I went to thank my customers and clients in my last company for being with me, I sent them handwritten notes, and I sent my employees handwritten notes too. And I quickly realized my hand wouldn't catch up with my brain, and I was wasting cards and wasting time and feeling very frustrated. And that's where handwritten came from. So I thought if there would be a way to send handwritten notes as easy or easier than sending an email, that might be something. So fast forward 11 years now, we're the largest provider of this solution in the world. We have 200 robots that we build here in our facility in Arizona in the United States. We then put those robots on shelves and they just work for us. So on a good day, we'll send 20,000 plus handwritten notes and envelopes. Um, each card is individually written in blue ballpoint pen. It is put in a regular envelope. That envelope is written out as well. A real stamp is put on it, and then it's mailed all within 2 business days. So, um, it's not the correct communication for everything. Certainly, thank you for your order type notification, or your order's been confirmed notification is not correct, or here's your UPS, your shipping tracking number. That would not be a good use case. But when you're trying to say you're thankful for the opportunity to serve you, I think that is a very good use case. And then there's other use cases such as win back in the case of a bad customer service experience, or a couple touch points throughout the year, whether that's birthdays, anniversaries, that type of thing. Those all seem to work well too.
So I'm trying to picture this in my mind now. So when you say you mean literal robots holding biros,
Yeah,
signing. Oh well,
yeah,
that's
we 3D print and laser cut and design our own circuitry, and each of these robots are about the size of an old school laser printer. And now it's not so much about, well, people love the robots. Yeah, the robots are are a huge part of it, but it's the whole process now. So when the note is written, it then goes to a computer vision system we built for QA, where it uses real machine vision, or AI, if you want to say that, to ensure that every single I is dotted and T is crossed. It then is invisibly marked. We invisibly mark our notes so that we can stuff them in an envelope and track that envelope to ensure that the correct mailing address is written on that envelope. And then we mail it from there. So it's a whole process. And the first, well, like the third and fifth steps of those process are using robots. The other steps are printing your custom card and cutting that card, writing the card, QAing it, inserting it, writing the envelope, and those writing steps do use those robots. And the robots aren't fast. They only write a little bit faster than a human. Now they don't take breaks, and that's a big deal. So that gets us some scalability there. But that's why we have to have 200 of these robots.
And I guess the big thing there is the message itself. That's still a human touch. That's still if I come to you and say I want to write a personal note, you're not saying, oh, we've got AI that can write on your behalf. It's well, what is it you want to say, Chris? And then we'll use our systems to then produce it.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that. So yeah, if you go on to handwrytten.com, you could certainly use our AI assistant to help you with that. So you could say, write Chris a thank you note for being on his podcast. And it would craft up something that I would then edit and send. We do have people that have asked us, could we just take an AI prompt and write it? With our API, you could feed it the text from that AI prompt, but we're not going to do that for you because we know AI screws up. And the last thing you want to do is create a poor brand experience. So if your system feeds us poor text, we'll take it and write it, but we're not going to generate that poor text for you.
And I guess the whole point of this is to really make a mark with someone and to show some gratitude. And if you send a handwritten note that is very clearly generative AI,
Yeah.
then it's kind of defeating the purpose of the act in the first place.
Yes. We think we've created a product that generates a very authentic looking handwritten note. But you still have to put the effort in to make it your own and use the correct words that really share the appreciation. We just help you scale it. And people say, well, if you're using robots, is it inauthentic? And if you like, we can get into all that because I do have kind of an opinion on that as well.
I think if the sentiment is still there, I mean that then there's still a purpose, isn't there?
Yeah, and basically cutting to the chase, back in the 1960s or something, if you were the CEO of TWA Airlines in the States or BA, and somebody wrote in a complaint or a thank you letter, you would respond to them as the CEO of your airline or whatever. But it wasn't you. It was your secretary typing up the letter and mailing it on your behalf, or an intern. If you're a part of a nonprofit organization, you want to thank your donors. It's typically not the head of donations, it's an intern doing it. So it's always an arm's length kind of writing of that note. It's just, are you having a person do that step, or something more consistent, more reliable, more compliant do that step? And that's kind of where we sit. So we understand it's not as authentic as if you sit down, but it's often not the choice of if you, Chris, are going to sit down and do it versus handwritten. It's whether you're going to have handwritten do it or not do it at all, because people
Yeah.
simply don't have the time to do that.
It gets added to the to-do list of life, and as you said, the amount of notifications people are sitting on now. And I
Yeah.
mean, I guess one of the things I'm curious about is my wife. Every holiday, every birthday, when I give her a card, she's then looking at it at arm's length, trying to work out. It's like I'm a failed doctor.
Yeah.
My handwriting is utter trash. And I guess actually this would make my thank you notes slightly more readable.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife, some of our friends will send us handwritten notes using our service. And my wife will say, wow, they have such nice handwriting. And I'll be like, come on. I mean, you don't recognize that by now? That's clearly our company. But yeah, so it does kind of, as far as passing the sniff test, if I hand you a handwritten note and I say, or if I sent you one, I said, hey, Chris, what did you think of the note I sent you? You'd say, oh, it was wonderful. Thank you very much. If I sent you that note and I said, hey, Chris, was this note written by a robot? You would put it under a completely different level of scrutiny that the average human wouldn't do. And you might be 50-50 on it or not. The ink smudges, there's variation. We vary every character to make sure it looks real. We vary the line spacing so it doesn't look like you wrote on lined paper. We vary the left margin so it doesn't look like you wrote down a hard edge of the page. We warp the text ever so slightly so it looked like you tried to write straight, but you failed a little bit. I mean, all of these things we do to make it look really authentic. We use what are called ligature combinations. So how do you know, if you write a word like little with two T's together, do you cross them with one crossbar or two? When you loop two O's together, how do you make those connections? So it's very much an art in addition to engineering. And we make sure we take care of all those details to create a very authentic looking piece.
And and this is fascinating me in many ways because I'm looking at my own handwriting now and working out what is it I do with those.
Right.
In terms of making an impact with your customers, where are people seeing success with this? Where is this
Yeah,
being
well,
the cherry on top?
I am a huge fan of what I call the full stop thank you, which is just saying thank you after a first purchase or anniversary of purchase or whatever that is. Maybe if they had a certain purchase threshold. I think there is value to be had in just saying thank you, not asking for a referral, not asking to redeem a coupon, strictly saying thank you. And if you throw anything on top of that, I would do that in the print, not the writing. In other words, if this card looks like it came from your company, have the maybe on the back of the card say, we cherish your referrals, or use this code to get a discount. But don't write that, because if you write it, it's going to seem super insincere and ruin the whole purpose of the gesture. In addition to thank you notes, we do a tremendous amount of business with holiday time, just resurfacing your brand relationship during that time through a thoughtful holiday card. Same thing with a birthday card, and then win back. So if you've unfortunately hurt your relationship with your customer through a poor user experience, customer experience, win back is very, very powerful using this method. So, for instance, we work with a large snack box company. They'll send a box of snacks to your office on a monthly basis, what have you. And occasionally they'll screw up those snacks by accident and send the wrong snacks, or the snacks will arrive late, whatever that may be. And when they do, they follow that up with a corrected box along with a handwritten note apologizing for the mistake. And what they find is those recipients of that win back actually end up with a much higher lifetime value than people that never were messed up with in the first place. Because of that, they then made the move to simply screw up with everybody and then send everybody the win back to raise all boats, all ships. So it's really that powerful, and we've seen a few examples of that with our clients.
That's really intriguing. So they're essentially building a form of failure into their relationship so they can make it good to
Correct.
then make, yeah, that's,
It's interesting.
it feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? But actually, yeah, they're very, very intriguing. I guess, obviously, you've been doing this for 11 years now. Um, It sounds like you're creating exceptional customer experiences for your customers there. What's the biggest opportunity, I guess, to make that even more exceptional? Where are you now seeing the changes?
I think with the continuing growth of AI and email, cold email, and just email from a brand to a consumer that's opted in, I think people are really fatigued. And we're seeing this with our clients where they're telling us that their email campaigns are not performing as well as they did. In fact, it's the number one reason customers come to Handwrytten, is because they're very concerned. Their email open rate and response rate has dropped precipitously over the last 12 to 18 months, or they feel they're worried their loyalty of their customers is waning and they're not seeing opportunities there too. So those are kind of the two main reasons people come to us. And I think this is only going to continue as emails proliferate and as AI proliferates, because it's kind of like uh, a two-pronged sword where I receive emails from a brand. A, I'm fatigued by receiving so many emails from the brand, and B, immediately discount even the most personalized email from the brand because, if I do open it, because I know that email was totally automated and written with AI. And for those reasons, these brands are really trying to stand out and differentiate as caring about their customer. And the email channel just isn't cutting it anymore. So I don't think anything is really new that's happening in our world, but what I think that's happening is it's just becoming more and more of an issue. And solutions like Handwrytten are a great way to kind of stand out. There's other ways too. Some of them are a little bit gimmicky, like personalized video emails where it's me talking to you, Chris, and you know, 3 years ago people said that couldn't be automated, but now it can be.
Yeah,
So,
it can
you
be
know,
avatared now. So
yeah, it could be. Yeah, it's amazing what's changed in such a short time. But people are really trying to look for a way to come across as authentic. And what a handwritten note does is it shows an investment in time that emails, and it also shows an investment in cost. They think you took the cost of postage and the cost of paper to write, but I think what really resonates with people is the time and focus. I had to stop what I was doing. I had to focus on you as a customer. I had to sit down and write, and that took me 5 minutes. And that's the appreciation that a handwritten note brings. It's not the card itself. It's knowing that somebody took the time and focus to do that. So as emails continue to grow out at what seems to be an exponential rate, I think this is only going to become more and more powerful.
I think as well with the world becoming more and more automated, they're being. I mean, you now see content flags and a lot of stuff if it's AI generated. I think what you're offering is a human connection.
Yeah, we're
Um,
certainly trying.
I mean, I'll dig out during the break. I've actually got some handwritten notes just on my desk that I keep because for that reason. What we'll do is we'll take a slight pause. We'll place our listeners and viewers on hold for a moment, and then we'll come back. And David, I'll ask you about one of your favorite customer experiences.
Very good. Thank you so much, Chris.
Welcome back to my favorite customer experience. I'm Chris Holt, and I'm joined this week by David Wachs from Handwrytten. And before the break, I said I was going to find. I've got some handwritten notes just at the back of my desk, and I've got one from a hotel. To your point, David, something that wasn't perfect, and they made it right, and they made sure that they made it right, and they left a note. I don't think that was enforced failure, but really nice. And then just
Yeah.
a restaurant we went to where it's like a happy anniversary, and all that came from was, why are you spending time with us today? They always ask that question, and yeah, they follow through. That was just waiting for us, and it's again, that's not a huge amount of effort, but it's a nice touch that is still with me months later.
100%. Yeah. We went to dinner for my son's ninth birthday on Friday, and the waitress handed us a handwritten note too. So it really wowed him. So it's really cool.
Oh, especially that generation, they don't really get post in the way that I did growing up and things, and it's novel.
Yeah, we work with a vinyl record subscription here in the States, and they scrape your music feed to your music feed to see what you listen to, and then they'll send you records based on that, and they'll include a handwritten note telling you why they chose those. And people post those photos to Instagram and Twitter because they're so, they don't expect to get that. And so it's very novel. We've had the same thing happen with one of the top morning YouTube shows where their two hosts would send out handwritten notes to members of their fan club, and they'd post those notes to YouTube or sorry, to Instagram and all that as well. So people really love it because it's so quote unquote retro. Yeah, it's interesting.
I do fear if they scraped my music, all I'd get is a recommendation based on my wife's feedback of bearded men with guitars. Which is a whole genre apparently. either making the music or going to the music. But David, why don't we ask you a little bit about an experience you've had? So why don't you tell us about a favorite customer experience that you've had recently and what made it exceptional?
Yeah. So, God, I hope they eventually listen to this and just say, gee, Dave, here's an extra piece of swag. So I recently renovated my backyard and we bought a new barbecue. And I bought the barbecue from a company called Barbecue Guys here in the States. And, it wasn't cheap. And they did a good job. And the barbecue's great, but there was a side burner that came too. And when that arrived, and they had to ship this freight. So it's not something you can just typically overnight. But when it arrived, it was all banged up. There was a big hole in the box, and the side burner was all banged up. And it was on the back, so I guess it could have been usable because you'd insert it in the barbecue system or whatever, but it was still banged up. So I reached out to them. They immediately apologized. They shipped out another one, which I received the next day, that I was amazed they could send it that quickly. And here's the kicker, they called me the next day to ensure that one that I received was good. And so not only was it flawless execution on getting me the new barbecue piece, but it showed again that level of time, investment, and care in that they actually took the time to call me and follow up and say, okay, we shipped you the new one. Was that okay? And that blew me away. And here I am. I've been on podcasts and when asked this question over the last year, that's been my example. So they didn't ask for a referral or anything, but good experiences are so far and few between nowadays because everybody has such an entitlement attitude. Yeah, why wouldn't you buy from Handwrytten? We're the best. Of course you're going to buy from us. No, there's a million solutions out there. People could hire a bunch of grannies sitting at an old age home, writing out handwritten notes. We have some clients that have done that in the past. They could build their own robots. They could buy something from China and try to make that work. There's always another solution, especially when it's something like, you know, t-shirts or electronics. You could, Ali, not only does Amazon exist for buying things, but if it doesn't exist, you can go to Alibaba and get it exactly like you want. So when somebody finds you on the internet or in real life, which is even more powerful, and makes that determination to put their money where their mind is, that's valuable. And I don't care the size of business you are, you should appreciate that. And you don't know where that's going to take you. I mean, Handwrytten, we have clients that start with 50 cards. That's 300, $150 or something. But then they like it, they use it, they come back and spend $10,000. So, you have to be appreciative for all purchases and make everybody feel special. I think a lot of people in this day and age just they feel they feel taken advantage of, and brands really do have an entitlement mentality.
And if we take it back to that barbecue guys experience, I guess your expectations by the sound of it going in weren't necessarily high. You've got a part that needs replacing,
Yep.
and they not only acknowledged it and apologized straight away, they then got something to you the same day. And then to, I mean, that cherry on top of following up with you as well, just to make sure everything was good. That
Yep.
sounds like that was way above the bar, which you had.
Yeah. No, I mean, I expected them. I mean, I had photos and documentation showing this thing came kind of as a hot mess. So I expected them to make it right. They seemed like a reputable company, but I didn't expect them to do it so quickly, and I didn't expect them to follow up on it. They just handled it the way every company should handle something like that. So, and because of that, I will only buy, it turns out I'm a very loyal guy. Once I find something I like and an experience I like, I can't imagine not buying from Barbecue Guys again.
And I guess the inverse of that is true. Of if they hadn't met that need, if you'd been
Oh,
left
100%.
high and dry, then that loyalty goes to another brand, and they've lost you.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And what did that phone call really cost them? It cost 3 minutes out of some customer service rep's time, but that's really what was so impressive is A, how quickly they were able to get it, and then B, just how well they handled it. And acknowledging screwing up is a lost art these days. It's people just don't do it. They blame you. They point the finger right back at you. I don't think it's a corporate issue. I think it's a societal issue, at least in the States. It might be different in Canada or it might be different in the UK. But at least in the States, nobody likes to admit blame or admit fault. And it's an endemic issue now. At my last company, we were doing all these text messaging campaigns, and we had a chain of uh, it was Elizabeth Arden Red Door Spas. It's been 20 years, so I'm sure I can say it at this point. And these text campaigns would start with a short code. So text spa to 55555. It was a short phone number. And my account manager gave them the wrong short code, the wrong 5-digit number. And then that client went out and printed signage in each of their 70 stores nationwide. Um, and so it was a problem when their signage was all messed up. It was the wrong. So we couldn't fix their signage for them. I think we credited them enough money to go get their signage done. But then I sent out my entire team to fly across the nation and deliver gift baskets to each of their stores in an apology. And then we had that client for life. It was an expensive lesson, but I think when you screw up, you have to own it. You have to overcorrect, and you have to put in processes so you never make the same mistake again. I think that's really critical.
I think that's a great quote as well. Of like, you not only own it but overcompensate for it,
You have to.
and
You have to.
and put things right. And I think it would have been really easy for and I've had this with when things have gone wrong over here, for you to be sent just a web link to go, all right, what item was it? Okay, well that's you've already bought from us, so you're no longer a priority. That's a 2-weeker. And then
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime, you've got a family barbecue you're organizing that you bought all of this for, and you're just in a spot where you can't use anything,
Yeah,
or
I
you
mean,
seek an alternative. David, where can people find you if they want to learn more about Handwrytten and the work you do?
yeah, so Handwrytten, you'd please visit handwrytten.com. It's handwrytten.com. Not handwritten with an I, but handwritten with a Y. You can go there. If you click business at the top, you can request free samples. We also have some great resources. If you click the resources tab on the page, at the top, over on the right, there's a customer satisfaction, customer loyalty survey we did with 2,000 customers, asking them how they felt being communicated with brands. It's quite interesting. And then personally, if you want to get in touch with me, I'm DB WACHS on Instagram, DB Wachs at Instagram. I'm trying to start posting there. So there's 2 posts now, and please look for more soon. Or just search me up on LinkedIn, David Wachs, Handwrytten, and you'll find me there too.
And we'll put some QR codes up around you as you were saying all of that, so that people can find that all nice and easily.
Okay.
But David, it's been a fascinating chat about how to garner loyalty with people in the modern world. So appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me on my favorite customer experience.
Thank you, Chris. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch up with you soon.